The MCU is a fun and happy place, full of quippy dialogue,
Eggs? Breakfast? No. I'd like a Bloody Mary.
thrilling action sequences, and the occasional alien warlord who wants to wipe out half of all life in the galaxy. This is a pretty good representation of the Marvel Comics universe. Well, some of the time. While Marvel can be a fun place, it can also be a horrifying nightmare where all your happiness is turned to ash before your very eyes. So, not really what the MCU is going for. The Immortal Hulk is without a doubt the best Marvel comic of the last few years, and trust me, that is saying something. It tells the story of Bruce Banner's darkest alter ego, the Devil Hulk, and how he's rampaging with a specific goal to destroy the world. This take on the character has a recently resurrected Bruce Banner, scrambling to survive during the day because the Hulk comes out every night. This makes every day of Banner's life a nightmare, as he starts with nothing and has to figure out ways to deal with whatever situation Hulk has left him in this time. It also features a ton of body horror, carnage, and plot twists that are likely to make you have an existential crisis that makes you doubt your own concept of reality. To answer your question on Kevin Feige's behalf, no, the MCU will not be depicting this particular Hulk story anytime soon. Especially because the Hulk in the Marvel movies is significantly weaker than he is in the comics, even if he's often depicted in a terrifying light. The most recent version, Professor Hulk, is more concerned with handing out tacos and dabbing and saving the world than he is existential terror. Still, a part of me hopes that he will at least show up as a villain in a season of She-Hulk or something. I would love to see them let Mark Ruffalo really go for something crazy. This list is going to come in two different categories: the stories I wish Marvel would do and the stories that I'm so happy they'll never do. Ultimatum is absolutely a story they will never attempt to adapt. If you didn't already know, the Ultimate Comics universe was an alternate take on all of our favorite heroes, often with a more cynical outlook, which is funny because it's the universe that spawned Miles Morales. The cynicism really hit its peak with the Ultimatum storyline, that featured Ultimate Magneto attacking the world with a combination of his powers and Thor's hammer Mjolnir. The natural disasters all over the world, including a flood through New York, take out a ton of superheroes including Daredevil, Nightcrawler, and Beast. Turns out they were the lucky ones. The carnage keeps on rolling as Professor X and Wolverine are slain by Magneto, before he finds out that the truth that mutants aren't created through evolution, but a secret government experiment. Then Cyclops mercifully blows up his head, which at that point wasn't even shocking because there are like 3 separate moments of cannibalism. Really? Cannibalism? You know what my biggest problem with Ultimatum is though? There's no ultimatum in the story. What a letdown for fans of ultimatums everywhere, huh? There are some stories that are so crazy, you can't even imagine what Marvel was thinking. A perfect example of this is Secret Empire, aka the story where it's revealed that Captain America was actually a secret Hydra agent all along. Yeah, let me say that again. Where Captain America was revealed to be a Hydra agent. It's like finding out Batman likes to punch orphans every weekend. Or if Game of Thrones had ended with Daenerys Targaryen burning down a city of innocent people. It was an absolutely reviled story that eventually brought in the real Captain America to take on his Hydra doppelganger. There were some fans that admired the political allegory, but most thought it was heavy-handed or just outright offensive. What's really crazy is that Marvel did this exact thing with Iron Man in the 90s, where it was revealed that he was a sleeper agent for Kang all along, and people hated it just as much, if not more so. Shocking. While I hope that Marvel has learned their lesson, I half expect a Spider-Man story where he goes back in time and shoots Uncle Ben. That was a joke, Marvel. Please don't do that. I don't actually think I know a comic storyline more impressive than the Dan Slott's story Superior Spider-Man. Not because it's the best Spider-Man story of all time, but because it went from being the worst Spider-Man story to one that many fans felt was at least in the top 10. This is a story where Doc Ock pulled a Freaky Friday and switched bodies with Peter Parker. Fans went ballistic when this comic dropped. Then Slott did the unthinkable and sold us all on an Otto Octavius version of Spider-Man. This more cerebral Spidey utilized different strategies, gadgets, and morality than the original in an attempt to show that he could be a better hero than Peter ever could. While the OG Webhead was proven to be the better hero, Otto may have succeeded in proving himself to be the better Peter. He started his own organization, Parker Industries, and made Spider-Man's hapless alter ego a huge Tony Stark-style success. I think this is way too wacky a concept for the MCU to take on, but I kinda hope the Spider-Man video games tackle the plotline in the next sequel. Alright folks, it's time to play Horrible Marvel Storyline Lightning Round. This is the game where I try to list as many of Marvel's infamously cringeworthy storylines that aren't fun enough to talk about on their own as I can, okay? Start the clock! Captain Marvel has an alien child that grows up to reveal that he's his own father and Carol's new love interest. Weird. It's revealed that Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin had children together. Super weird. Ultimate Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are revealed to be in a relationship by Wolverine, who spies on them in the act even though he might be their biological father. Weird and creepy. Hank Pym has a breakdown and attacks Janet Van Dyne. Ooh, uncomfortable. Jean Grey is resurrected and Cyclops immediately abandons his new wife and child. Settle down there, Scott. Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane and his possible daughter are sacrificed to Mephisto in order to save Aunt May's life. Really, Pete? Really? Wolverine is revealed to be something called a lupine and not a mutant at all. Let's just pretend that never happened. Tony Stark becomes an evil, greedy mob boss. Ugh. The famously Catholic Nightcrawler is revealed to be the son of a demon. Makes perfect sense. Spider-Man's clone problems return as legions of new Spidey clones appear, leading to doubt over whether Peter is the real Spider-Man or a clone, which leads him to getting framed, getting forced to attack MJ, and the revelation that the real villain was actually... Oh man, out of time. Even in a lightning round, the stupid clone saga's too much to finish. Minority Report is a pretty good movie. It theorizes a future where detectives can use these beings called precogs, who can see the future to arrest people for crimes before they even happen. It's the kind of sci-fi that really makes you think about justice, free will, and the concept of time itself. You know what doesn't do any of those things? Civil War II. This is the infamous storyline where Carol Danvers goes full-on bananas by pulling a Minority Report to stop super crimes and world-ending events before they can happen. While you can kinda see her point at first, the whole thing eventually goes off the rails, leaving her trying to arrest poor Miles Morales for a crime he has no idea about. I think Brie Larson can go ahead and skip this one, yeah? Okay, this one I actually hope the MCU does in a future episode of What If or something, because I think this would be amazing. In an alternate universe, an evil voice in Wade Wilson's head compels him to go after everyone in a vicious rampage of carnage. This leads to a series of scenes where Wade hunts down everyone from the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and Spider-Man. While many fans had problem with Wade managing to take out characters like Doctor Strange, Thanos, and the Hulk in banner form, others had a lot of fun watching Wade tear through the Marvel world. I mean, while this isn't my favorite Deadpool story by any means, I think Ryan Reynolds could really find a darkly humorous way of rampaging through all the MCU heroes. Yep, I'd pay to see it. Look, Marvel, we need to have an intervention about something. The Hand is a terrible villain organization. You've tried ever since Frank Miller introduced them in the 80s to make them interesting, and it's never really worked. You bet the entirety of the MCU Netflix farm on The Hand for reasons no one can explain, and all those shows got cancelled. No matter who leads them, what the lore is, or how cool you want them to be, The Hand will never be anything else besides a boring team of generic ninja bad guys who ruin everything. Just look at what they did to poor Daredevil. The Shadowland storyline actually kicked off with an interesting premise. What if Daredevil was in charge of The Hand? Somehow this led to the Abomination, where Daredevil literally becomes a demon monster. I mean, for this one, I'm not even going to explain the context. Just look at what they did to my boy. Did the fabric of his mask fuse to his head, making horns? Does Matt Murdock have a purple head? Who knows? All I know is that I hate it and blame The Hand for everything they did to Daredevil, the Defenders, and Marvel Comics in general. Down with The Hand! The Ultimate Comics reinterpreted Marvel heroes, but mostly kept them to the spirit of the originals. Ultimate Spider-Man is pretty much exactly like the original Peter Parker, just with updated angst for the 21st century. Ultimate Reed Richards, on the other hand, is about as far as a leader from the Fantastic Four as possible. While Ultimate Reed is initially a hero of the Fantastic Four, after the events of Ultimatum, he kinda lost it and became a villain. He blew up his own home to make it look like he was slain alongside his parents, tortured Sue Storm, and was disfigured by Johnny Storm. After that, he became a supervillain by the name of the Maker, who specializes in disturbing experiments that the original Reed Richards would find highly upsetting. Like Miles Morales, the Maker found his way to the original Marvel Universe and has been featured heavily in the current Venom run by Donny Cates. I doubt the MCU would ever consider doing this version of Reed, considering the fact that we've yet to actually get an accurate version of the original heroic Mr. Fantastic. Still, part of me would like to see the MCU multiverse get the Miles Teller version of this character back to play the villain this time. If you haven't figured it out already, Marvel just loves to do twisted alternate takes of their own universe. One of those was the comic series Bullet Points. This take on the Marvel Universe had Peter Parker turn into the Hulk instead of Bruce Banner. This makes the retired Steve Rogers come out of retirement and becomes Iron Man to stop him. Peter Parker Hulk takes on Captain Iron Man. and eventually retires him permanently. Reed Richards, the only survivor of the explosion that took out his 3 friends, joins forces with Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, and Stephen Strange. Bruce Banner ends up becoming Spider-Man as they try in vain to cure Pete. Of course, then Galactus drops in on them and pretty much decimates everyone. Peter as Hulk tries to take Galactus on, but ends up getting taken out as well. This inspires Silver Surfer to defeat Galactus, and all ends. Well, honestly, I don't think anyone wants this property resurrected from the dark corner of comics mythology where it's been buried. Let's just leave that one to rot, huh? So yeah, next time someone tries to tell you that WandaVision was a little too out there, or that Into the Spider-Verse was just too weird, you know now that things get so much stranger.